good to kind of warm up your fingers on something that you can really just focus on technique. So, scales are a good thing to do. If you don't know all your major scales with the right hand, you really need to get to work at that, because that's a really basic thing. And I think so many people that tune into this channel, they want to go right to some of the advanced things. But, I don't always just work on advanced stuff. I work on the basics. And I realized today, and I realized recently that playing scales is really something I ought to do more of. I teach it to my students. I tell them to do it. But I don't really sit down and go through a bunch of scales before I start playing. I just sit down and start playing. And when you play scales, it gets your fingers kind of moving in the way that they should, all right? Especially if you're doing scales correctly. So let's go over some scales, and let me show you how to do it correctly. And it's just a good routine to start your practice day with. So we'll start with C major, the most difficult scale according to some. Because the way your hand shape is, it likes to go up to the black keys, like B major. It fits the hand like a glove. It feels very comfortable. Whereas C, you have to either get between the black keys with your longer fingers, or you have to play out here on the white section and kind of cramp your hand a little bit. So, C is a little more difficult. Plus, black keys are kind of like help guide you through your fingering. Like if you're doing D major, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. The black keys help you with the fingering. In C major, you just have to know the fingering. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's a pattern for about 5 different scales, though all the other scales are different. So it's not just that one pattern. Here we go, C major. I show you technically, what I think is the best way for your fingers to move when you're playing a scale. And there's a couple different opinions about this, so I'm going to kind of show you both things. So move your fingers like this. You reach out in between the black keys, and you move like that. Notice my 4th finger makes my 5th finger come in too. Now, the problem with playing in between the keys like this is that most people are going to find that they are limited in how fast they can go, because the faster you go, well, you just have to be extremely accurate to get your fingers down in between those black keys. I cannot do it. Well, I say I can't do it, but let's put it this way. I don't want to do it. I'd rather play out here where I can feel a little more free. I don't know, something about playing in there, I've just never really liked it all that much. So anyway, you can play out here and do the same technique. Get a little bit, especially in here where you have lots of room. The 3rd finger's there. And, I did go in between the keys a little bit, but I'm not really way back in there. Especially when I cross over. I would say, yeah, it is possible to play pretty far in on the keys, unless your fingers are just so fat that even when they're curved, they can't get down there. But, it doesn't take much to hit a key and have the other key go down. I think the reason I don't like to play so far in on the keys is because you have to do kind of more lifting. You have to get up over black keys as you're playing there. And when you're out here, you see, you don't have to lift your fingers really off of the keys. You can keep them very close and go faster. I don't think I could ever get it that fast doing it that way. That's my advice: is play a little bit in on the keys, but not every finger back in there. Do it where it's comfortable for you, and experiment a little bit. The other technique called the Taubman approach, and it's taught by a place called the Godansky Institute, and it's actually kind of a technique that helps a lot of piano players avoid injury and repetitive stress injury and things like that. So this is kind of based on a thing called rotation. So you start play your thumb, and you kind of go over to the left, and then you play the second finger, and you go to the right and back up to the left a little bit. So you're kind of rotating like this. And it happens on almost a microscopic scale, especially if you're going fast. And that's the general principle of it, and if you find that maybe that might be for you, you could check that out. So the other way is just to play the fingers straight up and down, using the muscles God gave you, down. And even when I go fast, I try to feel that little rotational thing. I'm not sure if I'm really doing it right or not. Especially when I go really fast, I don't really think it's happening. Yeah, I don't know. I can't feel any of that rotation at all. And maybe some people can. I don't know. All right, that's called dominant motion. So we're going to go in that order around the cycle of fifths. So after C, our next scale is F. And now our fingering begins to change because we can't put our thumb under on B flat. We could, but we don't. So fourth finger, then 1, 2, 3 here. So the pattern is reversed: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And you end up on your fifth finger. All right, before I get onto all these scales, let me just talk a little bit about the very top of the scale. Curve your 4, curve your 5. And make sure you're up on top of these keys, okay? All right, so look at my hand and then take a video of your hand and compare the two. And if you're down like this, then change. Okay, here's some things you can do. Keep your thumb up, 45-degree angle approximately. All right, hold your arm like that. Then reach out a little bit. Play your 2 and your 3. See how far above I am. Nice relaxed wrist here. Another thing I'm doing, putting my thumb under. Second finger plays, thumb goes under right behind the second finger, then keeps moving slightly under your hand till it plays again. Then it bends a little bit more, comes under. It always does that. Back to our scales. We go to F. The next one would be down a fifth. Okay, what's down a fifth from F? B flat, right? So, one of the hardest scales, I think. And the reason is, as you see, is because, you've got 4 up there on B flat, and you've got 3 up there on E flat, and the rest of the fingers kind of have to play down in between the white keys, or else you're kind of like this. Which I think is okay, but you want to avoid doing this. Reaching out perfectly straight and hitting that one, and then curving and then straight again. You don't want to do that. You want to try to stay curved. And if you're careful, just work right in this little area of it, at the edge of the black keys and the edge of the white keys, right in this little zone here. You see, it's not very good. And if you practice this kind of stuff, when you start playing your jazz and you're stretching out and, playing things right off the top of your head, your technique is going to suffer a little bit when you're improvising. So practicing something that you can work on your technique is a really good idea. So practice your scales. One more thing about scales, use the metronome, start slowly. If you don't have patience for that, speed it up. eighth notes. Triplets, 3 octaves. Sixteenth notes, 4 octaves. Until next time, thanks everybody.